Welcome to the new video, guys. Welcome to the Labyrinth guide. For those of you who have played with me on the stream yesterday, you could already see how strong this deck is, and you can already see that I made some changes to the deck, which I will talk about first. You can see the Labyrinth furniture list here, furniture referring to these guys here, Stovitobi, Chandraglir. I have made some changes. I will first talk about this list, then I will also show you a list with the full trap version, the pure version, as you want to call it, and I will also comment on these two versions. I will take my opinion on which I think is better, and then we will also hop in some combos I will show you. But let's, like always, first talk about the deck list card by card. I will explain to you how the combos work and what you need to keep in mind, what is important. So what is happening here? I first started off, and this is one thing I just want to show off. I first started off with the Gamma package. So I had Gamma and the driver in here, and the three super polis that you can see were not in the deck. So no super polis here. The extra deck looked a bit different. Those are obviously all super poli targets. I had a Baron in and Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, so this guy here, the Excel Synchro and Baron, because on your turn you could make with the Psy-Frame Gear Gamma and a driver, if it's your first turn and you can use them, you can get them on the field, can make an Excel Synchro, and the Excel Synchro can resummon the Psy-Frame Gear Gamma, and then you can make a Baron on your turn, which is quite strong. The idea behind having the Gamma in here is that you are a back row deck, so there will be turns, there will also be first turns where you just put some traps in your back row and don't play a monster, and then on your opponent's turn your Gamma is still live, which basically is not the case for any other deck in the game. So that's why I initially thought the Gamma package would really fit into here, and it fits into there. It's not bad, but I wasn't really excited about it. Reason being is, in the end, it got really, it got stuck in my hand pretty often, and I also bricked a lot on the driver, which is also very annoying. The good thing is that you can like discard the driver to the graveyard and you can still use him from the graveyard for the effect. That's nice, I guess. Like, people are always hyped for this card. I always end up trying it and end up don't liking it. I have to say, also against tier elements it's really bad, because you don't want to negate and destroy the tier element effect, you only want to negate it. For example, if they use a Shiren, then you don't want to negate and destroy the Shiren, you just want to negate her, because if you destroy her, she will go to the graveyard and then activate her fusion effect. So against a matchup that this deck already is not that great against, I will talk about this in a moment, this is really bad, so this is where I put these cards out. If you do not want to go the Super Poly route, the next thing I had in here were 3 evenly matched, which this is a super rare, it's quite cheap and it helps with the going second matchup. Obviously Super Poly also does. I had this in here for a while. Unfortunately, I mean, this is a strong card, but the problem is this conflicts with some things that you want to do. For example, if your opponent activates, or if you play the Labyrinth match, the mirror match, or your opponent activates something on his first turn, you sometimes are able, or if you activate an imperm, if you imperm your opponent that goes first, then you in theory are able to activate your lady to summon it to the field, which is really nice, because then on turn 2 you can use it in attack position to attack. But if you have an evenly matched in the hand, you obviously cannot summon her in the end phase, because then you cannot use the evenly match, which is really bad. Also with these guys here, so once again, let's say your opponent goes first, you have an evenly and you have one of these guys here. Obviously in his end phase it's quite nice to use one of these to set one of your welcome traps, so that they are ready on your next turn and you can then use them. But the problem is, if you do that, you cannot use evenly. What you could obviously do is set the big welcome and then summon the lady, and you have to bounce something with the big welcome, so you bounce back your lady, can summon her later, and then your field is empty again. But there were a lot of situations where I found this card to be a bit like clunky. Same thing with the driver, like a bit And then with my community yesterday we were talking about the super polymerization package, which is or was a bit expensive because I had to craft all these super rares. The one thing I have to say about the super poly package is the disadvantage of, or the danger Mothman, the danger to banish all your targets with your pot of extravagances. Though in most games I normally draw one and activate one pot, I would say, sometimes two, but obviously if, for example, you banish all your Starving Man Infusion Dragons and all your Predator and Dragostapedia with one pot, because it banishes 6 if you want to, then maybe you have problems using a Super Poly. But as I said, in the games I used it, it never really came up, and Super Poly was really strong, especially against Branded and against Tier Elements, was really strong, I have to say, in breaking the board, and has also some nice applications in, for example, Sprite. or against other decks. Also really nice against the Labyrinth mirror matchup, because this one does not target, so you can fusion summon away the Lady Labyrinth, which it says while you control a set card, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. So normally this is basically untouchable when your opponent has it on the field, but if you, for example, has this one and this one on the field, you can super pulley them away for a starving Venom Fusion Dragon, for example, which is super nice. So this card really worked out, and this card I like the most out of all the three things I tried here. But yeah, that is what I wanted to say in terms of this slot here. So let's talk about the deck, and as I already said, I will show you some basic combos later, though this is not a combo deck, this is a control deck, so there are no real combos, though I will still show you some. Yeah, we have the Kugler first, which is a super nice card. You could think about upping this to 2 because it's so strong. The Kugler is, like all the other furniture guys here, has the ability to come back to your hand once a specific condition activates. So you can via quick effect, and this enables a lot of really nice combos. This also enables you to activate the virus, which can destroy all spells and traps of your opponent. Basically, you could activate this on your first turn. That would work if you are going first with the Kugler. Could work. Oh no, actually it can't, sorry. But it can work on your opponent's turn. So you can set it and then directly activate it if you have the Kugler. But as I already said, I will talk about this. This can, via quick effect, discard this card. And then this turn you can activate one normal trap card that was set this turn if you control a Labyrinth monster. So you have to control a Labyrinth monster for this effect to be live. So you can, for example, set your Big Welcome on your first turn, then activate your Kugler, and then you can activate your Big Welcome on your first turn. And I will talk about this in a moment. And then, same with the other guys, though the other guys have different conditions coming back to hand. Same if a card is sent from your hand to the graveyard to activate your normal trap card or your Labyrinth card or effect, except Kugler, while this is in your graveyard, you can either add it to your hand or summon it to the field. You basically always want to add it to your hand because you need to discard this to activate it, not special summon to the field. And the condition under which this will come back to your hand is, for example, if you activate Stovey or if you activate Chandraglir, because these guys here need to discard one card to activate their effect from their hand, and this is the condition that Labyrinth Kugler has. It needs a card, a Labyrinth card, that basically is activated in hand. So this will be Stovey and Chandraglir, because you also send something to the grave, and this is when you will get your Kugler back, and this happens a lot. So maybe you're thinking, okay, I have to discard one card and this card to get one of my traps, but you get these guys back in the next turn. These guys are crazy when it comes to recycling. This deck has crazy long-term game plan and long-term game strength. But yeah, we have Triple Max C, and then we have Chandraglir and Stovey, which basically are the same. So Stovey, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field, by the way, Chandraglir also, or field, this one is only hand, to the graveyard, and you have to discard one card, and then you can set one Labyrinth spell or trap from your deck. You can also set your field spell, which I will talk about in a moment, or normally you would set Big Welcome or Welcome. So in order of which of these are more important, I would say Big Welcome in most cases is the most important, also the most important to search for your Ariana, then Welcome, and then your field spell, but this depends on the matchup. And then when, if a monster, by the way, a monster, this is really important. So if you, for example, bounce a spell of your opponent back with Big Welcome, this will not trigger. But if a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can you can then special summon this card. And with this card, you cannot special summon it, you add it to the hand. So this is special summon, this is to the hand, but this has the same condition. Otherwise, this card and this card are the same. And this also triggers on your trap activations when you return your monster. So for example, if you have a Big Welcome in the grave, which when you have a Fiend monster on the field can bounce a card on the field. If you have a level 8 Fiend monster, you can also bounce your opponent cards, but for example, you could play an Ariana, bounce your Ariana with your own Big Welcome Labyrinth from the grave, and then these guys would activate because a monster has left the field because one of your trap effects. And this happens a lot, so you will get them back a lot. Then we have Triple Ash, which I still think is really nice. There are a lot of branded players. It's super nice against branded. It's really strong against Labyrinth. Ashing the traps here it's very impactful. If you want to know where to ash this deck, then ash the Big Welcome, ash the Welcome, and you will be golden. You can also ash the Ariana, but this is more of an imperm target if you have it. So really nice. Chandraglir, same thing here. This is also why We are only basically playing 2 ladies, and we are playing only 1 Welcome Labyrinth is because, and the pure version plays 3 Welcome Labyrinths. I will talk about the pure version in a moment. The reason is that we have these here, which can pretty easily get us into our traps. So this is why we don't need like a third Welcome Labyrinth, which is also why this deck is the cheaper version of the 2 pure versus the furniture version. Then we have Ariana. You should know the card by now. It's like normal summon, and then you can add a Labyrinth card from your deck to your hand. Super strong. And then if another card or if another monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect, so the basic condition that nearly all the Labyrinth cards have, then you can draw a card, and after that you can special summon a fiend monster from your hand, or you can set a spell or trap, which can be nice because if you, for example, draw on your opponent's turn this trap here, then you can set the trap and you would have it live next turn. Then we have the Lovely, which this is the best card in the grind game. I mean, the new lady really like ties the deck together, and also the big welcome. We have only 1 Lovely, but don't get confused. This is one of the best cards in the deck. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to the activation of your normal trap cards, which is quite nice. So if, I don't know, you are imperming something on your opponent's field, he cannot use Crossout Designator to cross out your imperm because the card says so. And then, now comes the important things about this card. Once per turn, you can target 1 normal trap in your graveyard and set it to your field, but it cannot be activated unless you control a fiend monster, though every card of yours are fiend monsters, so that's quite nice. So this card is able to recycle every one of your traps once per turn. This is crazy value town. And then the other really strong effect, which once again is unfortunately not super great against tier elements because it destroys, is that where is it? If another monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect, so get used to this line here, because this is the most important line in the deck. If another monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect, you can destroy 1 card in your opponent's hand at random or their field. And the cool thing is that you can activate this effect, but you don't have to choose at the moment that you activate this effect. So your opponent can basically say, okay, I want to activate some of my set cards first, so he cannot destroy it, but you don't have to target the set cards. You can choose afterwards. So if your opponent, for example, uses all his traps so that you cannot destroy it because this effect was chained, then you can just say, okay, then I destroy a hand card. So this is really nice. This generates resources in the form of setting traps, and this destroys resources of your opponents. This is also part of one of the basic combos that you always want to do, which involves the Big Welcome Labyrinth, where you can activate Big Welcome Labyrinth and then bounce a card of yours back to the hand, because this is the effect of Big Welcome Labyrinth, and then your Lovely Labyrinth triggers. But we will look at this in the combo guide of the video, which actually is not a combo. But yeah, then we have Lady, the new card, which she's so great. She's like, while you control a set card, so a face down card, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Keep this in mind. This is really important. This thing here is basically kind of indestructible when you have set cards and has really big stats. This is why this deck works well with Skill Drain, by the way. And then you can only use each of the following effects of Lady Lab once per turn. If a Labyrinth card or effect or a normal trap, also your opponent's normal trap, was activated this turn, except Lady Labyrinth of the Silver Castle, this one here, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. This is really nice. This was a problem with Lovely. Lovely got stuck in hand. This one doesn't. You can just, I don't know, use your imperm, and then right after that you can activate your Lady, which is super, super nice. And then when a normal trap card is activated, quick effect, also when your opponent activates a normal trap, you can also chain this. You can set 1 normal trap with a different name directly from your deck. So for example, if you activate a Big Welcome, you can chain your Lady to it and then set a Welcome from your deck. So this gets us resources from the deck, this recycles the resources, so both working together quite well. Keep in mind that you have to directly chain this. So for example, if you activate an impermanence and have your Lady on the field and your opponent then, I don't know, plays Crossout Designator, then you cannot chain her anymore, because this has to chain directly to the infinite impermanence. This is really important to understand. There's also another important thing to understand, which I will show you in the combo version, or in the combo part of the deck, where you really have to understand how like effects in Yu-Gi-Oh work, but I will talk about this later. You will learn a lot today. That's quite nice, I think. Then I play 1 Duster. To be honest, this didn't really come up that often, but there are a lot of back row decks right now, and I'm still like comfortable having this in here. If you don't have the Duster, you could also put in 1 Pot of Prosperity, which is a super rare. Though maybe not with the fusion version. Maybe you would then put in, I don't know, what could you put in? Maybe another trap or something. I really like the Duster. You could also put in another hand trap if you wanted to. But yeah, we have the Pot of Extravagance, which is super nice. We want more cards in hand here. It's for consistency, it's nice, and it's okay. We don't need or super need our extra deck, and as of right now, my experience tells me that this works out with the Super Poly, but we will have to see. Then we have Labyrinth. Labyrinth. Some people were like, "Why is this in here?" This is one of the strongest card in the entire deck. This is the strongest card in the grind game, and this is the best card in the mirror match. The person who controls the Labyrinth in the mirror match or has a Labyrinth will normally win the game in the long run, because this basically adds a special effect to every trap you activate. So if you activate a welcome trap, this is big welcome or welcome Labyrinth, then you can add to the resolution of the card the effect also destroy one card on the field. Keep in mind, it's not the spell card that activates. So if, for example, you activate your welcome Labyrinth and then it goes on a chain link and then it gets resolved, then you will summon your monster, because this has special summon on Labyrinth monster, and then you will destroy a card. So this is part of the card's effect then. This adds an effect to this card's resolution, okay? So with a lot of like field spells or other things, the field spell would trigger in a new chain after this chain had resolved. That's not the case here, and it's important to understand, so you cannot really block this effect, if you understand what I mean. And then, if you activate a non-Labyrinth normal trap, so basically all our other traps besides Skill Drain, you can special summon one field monster from your hand or graveyard, which is super nice. You can get back your lady from the graveyard, can summon an Ariana, can summon these girls from the hand. This especially got stuck in the hand sometimes, and you want to recycle her on the field as often as you can. Then you have the Super Police, I talked about this. Then you have Compulsory Evacuation Device. You should optimally use this on like extra deck monsters, then this is really value. By the way, we are owning, and you will see this in the other version in a moment, we are only playing basically one of each of the like useful traps, Dimensional Barrier, Dogmatic Punishment, the Evacuation Device, because we can search everything with the Lady and then we can recycle everything with the Lovely. This is the idea. Then we have the Virus, which I think is pretty strong. There are a lot of trap decks running around right now. There are also some runic decks, and you can also search this via your Lady, and if you then have access to your Coup Clock, and it's easy to have access to your Coup Clock. So for example, if you have this on the field and this on the field, Big Welcome, then you can just activate Big Welcome, chain the Lady, set the Eradicator with the Lady, and this can then special summon a Labyrinth monster and then has to bounce something back to hand. So you special summon the Coup Clock that you don't already have in hand, bounce the Coup Clock back to hand, then you activate the Coup Clock, and then you can activate the Eradicator, tributing your Lady. So it's super easy to get to this card. And then we have Dimension Barrier, which in the current meta is really strong. You could also think about putting a second one in here if you want to hard draw it more. Could be a replacement for the Harpy's Feather Duster, for example, because this basically you can call Fusion, you can call XYZ, you can call Pendulum, and you can call Synchro, and then your opponent cannot like special summon these monsters for the rest of the turn and cannot activate their effects. So you can basically, the idea against branded anti-elements is to search this via your Lady, so it's on the field, and then activate it every turn, resetting it with your Lovely, and then your opponent cannot fusion summon and the game is over. Then we have Triple Infinite Impermanence, then we have Dogmatic Punishment, which is a super strong card and works well with our Entes, our Garua, and our Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus. I will talk about this in a moment. Then we have Welcome Labyrinth, which special summon one Labyrinth monster from your deck also until the end of the next turn. After this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters from the deck or extra deck except Fiend monsters. You always have to keep this in mind. This also conflicts a bit with the Super Poly. Be aware of using your Welcome Labyrinth, because this basically locks you out of your extra deck. This is also the reason why this deck cannot really get into Zeus pretty easily, because you lock yourself out. And then this card also has the effect, if a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect while this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can set this card. So, for example, if you use your Big Welcome to bounce back, I don't know, your Ariana to the hand, and this was in the graveyard, not this turn, also it was not sent there this turn, then you can just reset this. So you can see how this deck is really grindy, how this deck creates resources and like recycles resources. This is the definition of a control deck. Keep in mind that this here can only special summon from your deck, while this can special summon from your hand, deck, or graveyard, which is much stronger because you can special summon the Lovely from the hand, otherwise she's stuck, or you can special summon her from the graveyard if you want her back, for example, or obviously the Lady also. And then we have the new, I think this is the most important thing that came out for the deck. Obviously the Lady is super strong, but Big Welcome is the thing that ties it all together. Special summon a Labyrinth monster from your hand, deck or graveyard, then return one monster you control to the hand. So a lot of people, especially in the TCG, didn't seem to understand how this card works. But this card resolves and you have to bounce something back to the hand before, so the bouncing back to the hand happens directly after you summon a monster. There is nothing happen in between. So you summon a monster, so let's for example say you want to summon your Ariana and then use her effect. You can't if you have to bounce her back to the hand, because the bouncing back happens directly after this. So you would summon the Ariana and directly bounce it back to hand, and then this trap is resolved, okay? Keep that in mind. So why is this card strong? Obviously you can summon from everywhere a Labyrinth monster, so we have more Welcome Labyrinth traps, but then also this basically activates every effect that, I read the sentence to you. This sentence you have to keep in mind: if a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect. This triggers this condition. This is why this is such a great card. And then this card is insane. It's really insane. I hope they don't like semi-limit this or what, because this is the strongest card in the deck. Then you can also banish this card from your graveyard and then target one Fiend monster you control, or if you control a level 8 or higher Fiend, so these guys here, then you can also target any card your opponent controls and bounce it back to hand. This once again activates all your other effects. But you can also dodge things with this. Say for example you play an Ariana to search something and your opponent plays an infinite impermanence on your Ariana, then you could use your Big Welcome from the graveyard, target your Ariana, bounce her back to hand, and then her effect will still resolve because she's no longer on the field at the moment that infinite impermanence resolves. So super strong. Same thing by the way with skill drain. If you want to have skill drain on the field and you want to use one of your effects, maybe your Lovely to reset one of your traps, you could do that, bounce her back to the hand, and then her effect will resolve because she's no longer on the field when skill drain resolves. Obviously this only works, sorry guys, this works because you can target, so I talked about this a lot. If there's a semicolon here, this means this is cost. You can target one normal trap in your card. This happens before the effect happens. And cost you can always pay. You can always pay cost even under skill drain. This is why Stovey and Chandraglir, when they are on the field, they can also work under skill drain. Because they say, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard and discard one card. Here is the semicolon which says this is cost. Everything here is cost, so you can activate this. The thing is, this is going to send to the graveyard, so it's no longer on the field to get hit by skill drain. So this is why when these are on the field and you have skill drain, you can still activate them. Really nice synergy. And then we have the extra deck, as I already said. This card, this, these are all super poly targets, which they are all super rare, so it's quite cheap. That's nice. And then we have the Entes. If you have more, you can put in more. You will see in the pure version there are more Entes in here. This obviously is a target, one of the targets for Dogmatic Punishment. You can destroy an opponent's monster with 2500 attack or less. Then this goes to the graveyard, activates its effect, and you can destroy a card on your opponent's fields. Super strong. You can also use the Dogmatic Punishment with your Garura in combination with Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus. You would use Arms Bucephalus, which has 3500 attack, so basically can destroy everything, nearly everything. You send your Arms Bucephalus, destroy the card, and then Arms Bucephalus in the grave says you can also send another Winged Beast monster from your extra deck to the grave. So then you are sending Garura, and Garura, when it hits the grave, draws you a card. So Dogmatic Punishment with this thing here is basically destroy a monster with 3500 attack or less, and then draw a card. This is the reason why Dogmatic Punishment is super strong, and you will see in the pure version I have put this in 3 times, and the extra deck is more tuned to Dogmatic Punishment. And then we have Muckracker from the Underworld, which this is really cool. You can make this with 2 effect monsters, so with everything here. So if you have your Stovey on the field or something, you can use that because you will get it back, and you can make a Muckracker. And then you can discard a card and special summon a Fiend from the graveyard, so you can get back your Lovely or your Lady for the cost of 1 hand card and for obviously the cost of making this card. Really strong card we got in the new pack, really cool support. So this is it for this list and all the like neat and important actions. But as I already said, we will hop into a combo guide of sorts after I show you the other version, because maybe you want to play the other version. By the way, what have I changed here? Why was this saved? Let me just take a look. I'm a bit confused here. because I have changed nothing, right? No, I haven't. So let's hop over to the pure variant. And I already talked about this, and a lot of people seemed to be confused in stream yesterday. I think this is a weaker version. I would love to play it if we would have been able to play 3 skill drain and 3 goals matches or 3 rivalries. Then this would work. So there is basically no floodgate version of this deck because we only have 3 floodgates. There are no floodgates. Don't be confused by the 44 here. This is a 40 card version, but I will talk about some of the cards in more detail. So I don't need to talk about this, need to talk about this. You can play Shifter in this deck. Shifter also hurts this deck a bit itself, but it's obviously quite nice against Tier Element. You can also put this out against maybe 2 Ashes if you wanted to and don't have the Shifter, so this is not a must. This deck is copied a bit from the list that Solemn posted on his YouTube channel, but I changed something because I didn't like the list all in all. In the end, we have 1 Lovely, we have again 2 Ladies, we have 2 Lord of the Heavenly Prisons in here. You can also play 3. Lord of the Heavenly Prison is a really nice card. You can activate this effect and then this card becomes revealed in your hand, and then your set cards, as long as they are set, cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is pretty cool. And when you activate a trap, or when you are I think also when your opponent activates a trap. Let me read this. Genau, if a set, spell or trap card is activated, also your opponents, you can special summon this card from your hand, and then if you special summon him while you have this reveal effect activated, but only then you can reveal and set 1 spell trap directly from your deck, but banish it during the end phase. So this is really nice to get access to your big welcome or welcome. This is, by the way, why this is in here, not in the other version, because this is basically engine to get to your big welcomes and welcomes. This is why the card is in here. So really strong. We have triple pots and 1 pot of prosperity, which this works. You can do it like this. I've put in the Labyrinth here. He had no field spell in here. I think it's super important. And then we come to basically the 44 card version thingy. So we have 2 torrential tributes here. So at first, the reason why we are playing 2 offs of these traps here is because of Trap Trick. Because Trap Trick says you can banish a trap and then you can set a trap with the same name and also activate it this turn, but you can only activate 1 more trap this turn. So you could, for example, banish a torrential to set a torrential, or a compulsory to set a compulsory. So if you're thinking about putting cards like, I don't know, Dimensional Barrier in here, you should always think about putting 2 of them in here. This only works for normal traps, by the way, so not for cards like Skill Drain or something. So here is your flex spot. I have 2 torrentials in here. This you could put in here. I have 2 Solemn Judgments in here. You could also put this in here. And I have 2 Terrors of the Overroot, which I already talked about in the past video, which will be way better when Kashtira comes out. Then you definitely want these cards in the deck. As of right now, you don't need them. If you want to go a cheap version, then you could put just 2 Torrential in here. Maybe you have Solemn. You could also put 2 Solemns in here. So you can decide which of these 2 packages you want to keep. So let's say we want to keep the, I don't know, we want to keep the Solemn Judgments. So this is what the deck would look like then, okay? So keep in mind, Solemn Judgment cannot be searched with Trap Trick, but it's okay. Then we are playing triple Dogmatic Punishment. As I already said, in this deck, this card is way more important, and you're also in an optimal world running 3 and Tess. Because, yeah, you use your extra deck for the Dogmatic Punishment way more, and this is one of the strongest traps you can play. Then we have Triple Welcome. You want Triple Welcome here because you don't have all the furniture guys, so you need more of the hard-drawn cards here. 3 Big Welcome, then we have 2 Solemn Judgments. We can play one of all the Floodgates. You can also play more Floodgates in the other version if you want. I played Gozen Match and didn't really like it, to be honest. Skill Drain I think is super nice, auto-wins you some games. Which is amazing. But yeah, you can see this deck here is way more trap heavy, so in the long run, in terms of controlling the matchup, this is worse, but in terms of being stronger in the beginning and having more impactful traps, this is better. All in all, I think this deck is weaker. We would, in an optimal world, like Triple Pot of Prosperity here. This would make the deck way stronger, and I think this deck also depends a bit more on the Floodgates that we unfortunately only have at 1. though I think it's a good thing, to be honest, but yeah. Then you play triple Antestia for the Dogmatica Punishment. These are all Dogmatica Punishment targets. This also, when this is in the graveyard via your Dogmatica Punishment, you can target one other card in the graveyard and shuffle both this one and the other card in the graveyard back into the deck. We have Mereologic Aggregator also for punishment. When this card is sent to the graveyard, you can negate an opponent's monster effect. Then we have a few of the Nightmare cards you could potentially make with two monsters with different names, so you could make them if you want to destroy a trap or a monster. Once again, the Muckracker and the Tri-Brigade Arms Bucephalus here, nothing like too special. So this is what a pure Labyrinth version could look like, but as I already said, I think the other one is the stronger one. So after we have looked at lists, let's hop into the combo guide part of the video. So the first replay or the first combo I want to show you is what you can do with the Coup Clock, because Coup Clock is insanely strong. So we are going first, we are going against a Runic deck. This I don't know at the moment, but it doesn't really matter. So if you have access to a big Welcome Labyrinth and your Coup Clock somehow, then you can make a really nice combo that I will show you in a moment. So I already have the big Welcome, so I'm at first obviously playing the Ariana to search a Labyrinth card. So I'm searching the Coup Clock now. You could also search it via other means, but we have the Coup Clock now in hand. So now I can summon the Lady because I have activated the effect of a Labyrinth card. Keep in mind that for this combo Lady isn't needed, but the fact that I have Lady in hand makes it even better, but the bare bones of the combo still work. Then I set the big Welcome, activate the Coup Clock, and now I can activate the big Welcome. And why the Lady is really nice here is because I will activate the big Welcome now, and then I can chain the Lady to also set another trap card. So I go big Welcome, which I can activate because of Coup Clock. I can chain her to set another trap card. In this case, I should have set the Virus because this is Runic Sprite, but I didn't know. I set Dogmatica Punishment because this is just a really strong like interruption. So I was like, okay, I'm not sure what I'm playing against, so I'm going to set this one. And then if you have this setup on the field, what you basically always want to do is you want to summon your Lovely. And now you have to bounce something back to hand. This is a setup you will often end up on, and I will show you this in another combo once again. So now let's think about this. You have to bounce one card. Obviously you don't want to bounce her, because if you bounce her, you cannot activate her effect. We can bounce our Ariana. I think we will do this here because then we can use her again next turn, and also her activate effect also already activated. You could also bounce the Lady here because her effect to set a trap also already activated. But keep in mind, because you have summoned her already via her effect this turn, you cannot resummon her at the end of the turn. So in this case, getting back the Ariana is the best option. We are getting her back, and now we can activate the effect of Lady to destroy a card in hand, which is super because we are also getting information on what our opponent plays. And then you can use the other effect of Lovely Lady and reset the big Welcome that you have just used to get this whole combo thing off. And of course, at the beginning of the next turn of your opponents, which we will see right now, you can do it once again. So obviously I saw that he was Runic, so my plan was as follows. I wanted to activate big Welcome, chain the Lady to set the Virus, okay? And then I wanted to get my Coup Clock back. And now he starts activating spell cards. So I know that he will destroy this, but obviously let's just think about this for a moment outside of this scenario here. Obviously, I could have done now is summon, for example, the Ariana, or summon back the Coup Clock with the big Welcome. Could have chained this to set another trap. I would have the Coup Clock in hand, so I could also activate this trap that I would set here. And then because a card left the field because of my trap cards effect, this once again could rip another card out of my opponent's hand, which is super strong obviously. And then now he activates a lot of spell cards, but we are not here to watch like the rest of the duel, but this is it for like the combo that you can do if you have a Coup Clock. And you basically like, it's enough to have the Coup Clock and the big Welcome and another normal summon card, so you don't need Ariana and you don't need the Lady, but they make the combo better. Because let's say you have an Ash in hand, then what you could do is you could play the Ash, set the big Welcome, activate Coup Clock, then you can activate the big Welcome. You need one monster on the field to bounce, because otherwise you need to bounce your Lovely, and you don't want to bounce your Lovely, you want her on the field. So then you activate big Welcome, bounce back the Ash or Maxi or whatever. Then this activates, destroys a card in hand, and then you can reset the big Welcome that you have just used, so you are not losing cards. This is the important card. You start with a big Welcome and you end with a big Welcome. let's look at another combo. Okay, let me show you one of the basic interactions, okay? So this interaction needs you to have both the labyrinths on your hand, both the traps, that you can like pretty easy get if you have an Ariana or if you have the furniture guys. So what you want to do here is turn this thing on, okay? This is really important. You can do this in the draw phase. I will talk about this in a moment, and we will also talk about this button here because I need to explain something to you. So, what you want to do here is you want to start off with your welcome labyrinth, okay? Start with welcome, and I mean, I could now chain this here, but let's pretend this is not in hand, okay? So, let's pretend the lady is not in hand. Then you would summon your Ariana here. Ariana activates the effect. Then you can search your lady, which obviously we have in hand, but just ignore that. Then now we can summon the lady. Yes, and now we can activate Big Welcome. We can chain the lady to set another trap, which, I don't know, whatever you want, basically. Maybe you want an imperm, I don't know. If you wanted to activate the imperm this turn, you could use the Q-Clock now to get the Q-Clock back to hand, but I want to show you the basic combo, or one of the basic interactions. Summon the Lovely, and at this point, you can just, because you have used Ariana at this turn, bounce back the Ariana, and you then have it, or have her for next turn to once again use her. If you have the Ariana already on the field when you do this, then you can bounce your lady, because then Ariana can use her other effect and draw a card for you. But in this case, we will send this back, activate lady, and rip a card out of our opponent's hands, okay? Alright, so let me now, I have this on, why aren't we reacting? Let me now talk about, it's because I cannot activate anything, that's right. Okay, it's alright. So this is the basic like interaction that you can have on any given turn, right? So the thing is, I've done this in the draw phase, and you can do this in the draw phase, but I would not recommend doing it in the draw phase. The reason is that if you do all of this in the draw phase, your opponent knows what your two set cards are, and you have already used the effect of your lady, of your lovely, to rip a card of your opponent's hand, so you cannot destroy a card of your opponent. So, for example, if you play something like, I don't know, a level 2 monster to summon sprite monsters after that, you can then not destroy the card because you have already used everything here. So, if you do not have skill drain on the field, then I would not do all of this in the draw phase. Then you would do it like later on once your opponent starts playing cards. Maybe he also targets your cards here with, I don't know, a Cosmic Cyclone, and then it's perfect to activate them. If you have skill drain though, then you can do it in the draw phase, because the idea obviously is that at one point in the turn, either earlier than later, you will activate skill drain, like your opponent summons an Alubar to search a Banner Fusion, then you activate skill drain, and obviously then all of this combo that I just showed you is no longer live, so you want to have done the combo before you activate the skill drain. This is that. So now the other important thing that you really need to understand. So here is the on button, here's the off button, here's the auto button. I will also let me get something else here, so you better understand what I mean. This is something that you do not learn if you don't play like the paper Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's important to understand. So a little rule session right now. So you can see this, okay? This is important to understand. What you can see here is the fast effect timing chart. So this basically tells you when fast effects can be activated. One thing that you need to understand is, at the beginning of everything, if you have your turn and you can do anything, the game state is called open, an open game state. And then there can three things that can happen. Either I can pass the turn, so I can say I want to go to, I don't know, standby phase. I can activate an effect that starts a chain. For example, if I would now play my Ariana and activate an effect that would start a chain. Or I can take an action that doesn't start a chain. So a normal summon, for example, doesn't start a chain. Or setting a card face down doesn't start a chain. But whatever I do here, or whatever my opponent does here, we will always be here. We will always go to here and through here until or before we end up once again in an open game state. And open game state means that everything is resolved and you can play your next card. So if there is a chain building here, for example, with Ariana, I cannot play the pot here before everything has resolved. And the state that we are in, once I can then again play the pot, which in this case I can't because I need to play it at the start of my main phase, but ignore that. The game state that we are in, once I can once again play cards, is open game state. So, what you need to understand here is that with every action that your opponent takes, this is important. You always have to ask yourself, does this activate a trigger effect? So, for example, a trigger effect is something like, when your opponent normal summons a monster, you can destroy a card. This is a trigger effect, for example. This obviously is done by the game, but you need to understand this for one important thing here. And then comes the question, the turn player, which is a player which is actually playing the turn at the moment, can activate a fast effect. And if he does not want to activate a fast effect, then you, the opponent, can activate a fast effect. If you don't want to activate a fast effect, then the game state is open again. So what does this mean? If you have this on auto here, then the game will basically not show you this important window here. This window will not be shown by the game, especially if this happens. So, and you can test this. If your opponent normal summons a monster, or if he sets the card face down, according to the rules, you then have the chance to react with a fast effect. So, for example, if you have a Cosmic Cyclone and your opponent sets a card, a spell, a trap or a spell, then by the rules, you are allowed to activate your Cosmic Cyclone after he sets the cards. But if you have this on auto, then the game will, because auto means the game will like skip some things because it thinks that you don't need them. This is why this is on auto, and you have to understand how to use this. If this is on auto, you will not be able to activate a Cosmic Cyclone when your opponent sets cards face down, okay? It's not that important in this case, but I will talk about why it's important in this case of the combo here. And if you then turn this on, then you will get this, it's called the post-resolution window. Yeah, the post-resolution window. So if you are going to TCG tournaments, people will say like, on effect resolution, I do this and this. This is referring to this here. So everything that happens in the game, it doesn't matter what it is, you have the ability to activate a fast effect before the game state becomes open again. And this is why we have to put this on when we want to do our combo. Because what you want to do here is, you want to, in your draw phase for example, activate, you have seen this, you activate your Welcome Labyrinth. This is the first thing you activate to summon your Ariana. But what you then want to do is, you want to activate something after the Welcome Labyrinth resolves. Because then you want to summon your Lady. And after the Lady resolves, you then want to activate your Big Welcome. I was in a stream with a friend yesterday and he didn't really get how to do this because he had this on auto and he just chained everything together. Because what can happen if you have this on auto is that the game just skips you to the main phase after you have activated Welcome Labyrinth. Because the game thinks, oh, he doesn't want to activate anything more. So you definitely want to have this on so you can have this additional timing window, the fast effect timing window chart, this post-resolution thing here. You want to have this. This is only active. This is only available to you when your opponent like normal summons or stuff like this. If you put this on, that's really important. And you should always put this on once you are starting this combo. And as I already said, you want to do the combo pieces that I just showed you step after step. So don't make one chain. You don't need to make one chain because if you have this on, you are allowed to make as many chains as you want. So, for example, at the end of your opponent's draw phase, if you can make as many chains as you want. Obviously, you are capped by the amount of cards that you have, but in theory, you can do as many chains as you want. You can make one chain, it resolves, then you can make another chain, you can make another chain, another, as long as you are happy and you can do it. You can make as much chains as you want. One other thing to understand here, just to have a bit of rule talk here, because it's interesting, this is also what applies with your Lady. So if, for example, I want to activate my Lady or let's say your opponent has also a Lady on the field, okay? You play against Labyrinth, he has also a Lady on the field. And I activate my Impermanence now. then my opponent can chain his lady, but I cannot chain my lady. Why is that? Because I have activated an effect, and now my opponent gets the opportunity to react to this effect. So I'm not the first one that has the opportunity to react to this effect, but my opponent is the first one who has the opportunity. So this is why if you have two ladies on the field, or if there are two ladies, one of your opponents and one of your own, then your opponent can chain to your impermanence and not yourself. Same goes if he activates a trap, of course. So this is this for this combo line and the fast effect timing window. Yeah guys, I hope you liked the video. I basically showed you every combo that you need to know. There are not a lot of combos, keep that in mind. This is a deck that you have to play and learn to understand it like really deeply, but the two combos I showed you are like the most basic interactions. Obviously I didn't show you like Stovey Torby or Chandraglier discarding a card to set a trap, but I don't think I have to. If you have two of them in the hand, you can always like discard both of them, activate this one, discard this one, and you will get both of them back once you activate, for example, your Big Welcome on your next turn. But yeah, this is a really cool deck. It's super fun. It's not that complex, but you have to understand how everything works together. It's not simple either, so yeah, it's just super fun. It's quite cheap. This I want to say in the end, you don't need the extra deck. But obviously, if you play without good cards in the extra deck, then put the Super Polis out. That's for sure. Though, obviously, you could just put in, for example, you could put the Ultra Rare out, the Ultra Rare out, this Ultra Rare out, and then put in more Super Poli targets. These are all Super Rares then, so that would be fine. Then you would also put out the Dogmatica Punishment, of course. You don't need the extra deck. I rarely use it. Muckraker is really nice, so get this at least. It's a super rare. But other than that, you can be totally fine with only having like the main deck stuff, and you don't need a Super Poli, as I already said, could also play evenly matched here. So this is a pretty cheap deck all in all. As you can see, I don't count these, okay? These and the Ashes and the Imperms are basically staples. You have a Duster that you also don't need. You need 1, 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7. You basically need 8 Ultra Rares if you really want to play a budget version. And then, of course, these cards here, but I don't count them, guys. This is a cheap deck. I hope you have fun. I hope you liked the guide. Please let me know in the comments if you liked it, some suggestions. Let me know if you play the deck and what your experiences were with the trap version, with the furniture version. If you like my videos, please consider to subscribe, hit the thumbs up and the notification bell. And yeah, we will see each other in the next one, probably in a live stream in the next few days. Hopefully that will go better than last time. Love you guys, and until then, bye.